So the new teaser trailer for the new Supergirl movie has just dropped, well, maybe like a few days ago at this point. And honestly, the reactions to it, I'm not surprised. On the internet, things kind of blew up as far as people being genuinely upset about what they saw. Honestly, for me, I was not shocked or surprised because I was thinking about it. I was like, this really isn't about Supergirl. I think it has a lot to do with how we're consuming entertainment these days. So because you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what a grifter is. It's basically a content creator who profits off of negativity and controversy.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
They use strong reactions like anger, outrage, and complaints to get views and also subscriptions and money. This is where the money's at. It's easier to make money being negative than it is to be positive for a lot of these people. And what's funny to me is that people will watch these trailers, these little 1-minute trailers, and get all upset about it to where it's just like unbelievable to me. Without seeing the full movie, they already jump to conclusions that it's a terrible movie, it's this, it's that, it's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like that. This is like, you know, like that same thing, the same rhetoric over and over again, without even seeing the full movie to properly judge it. Opinions are always going to be valid, but my issue is when negativity is perpetuated over and over again to where it just becomes a cycle. People don't often watch content to actually enjoy it, but to judge it, to critique it before even actually experiencing it. It's always fun to go and watch your favorite content creators or content creators that you go to for that type of stuff, to see their reactions, to see what their thoughts are, because that's the fun part. Like, that's what it's all about. The issue is when a lot of these content creators are grifters and will find any little thing to be negative about, and it just creates this toxic culture around things that should really be fun. And the truth is that creators have a lot of influence over people to where viewers may not even realize, but a lot of these people internalize this negativity from these content creators. They'll like prejudge a movie or a show before even watching it, and even sometimes, I'm sure, deny the fact that they might like a piece of content but feel like they're in the wrong for actually enjoying it. I do see those people that are willing to stand up against those type of creators, and even if they are fans, and say, no, I actually think this was actually pretty good. But a lot of people would prefer to be an agreeable person and not be honest if they don't share the same opinion. So a lot of these people just become parrots or parroting the same information or the same ideals as these content creators without actually forming their own opinion and actually thinking independently. So instead of entertainment actually being fun, it becomes stressful, it becomes competitive, it becomes toxic and judgmental. And so all the magic and all the fun that's supposed to be there, it's just no longer there because it's all about negativity, people arguing back and forth about every little thing. And it's just not fun. It's hard to have an opinion in that type of environment. And the reason why I can speak on this is because I was one of those people.
That nigga is guilty!
A lot of things that you will hear going around these days is that, oh, Hollywood is dying or movies are just not good anymore, and all this negative perspective on entertainment these days, and this very negative perception of the things that we're getting. Because before we even watch something, what do we get? A lot of negativity around that thing. It'd be a rumor and people are already like being negative about it. And it's not about there being negative information or negative opinions. It's just about the fact that it's become the majority, and it's become a situation where a lot of people will lie just to push a negative narrative. So for me, that's the type of mentality I had. I would go into the movie theaters and actually no, I would feed myself. I watch these videos, a bunch of different videos about the same movie or show, see what their opinions were. And before I really got to form my own opinion or like figure out how I actually felt, I was already having their opinions in my mind before I could even come up with my own thoughts. And so I would get frustrated along with them. It's just like, what is this? This is stupid. Why would they do this? Why would they do that? And then I'll go into the movie theater with that same mindset, watch it. I'll be grading and critiquing it throughout. Then after, I'll go and watch these people content again, talking about after the release, like getting their perspective on that. And it's the same negative thing. And so it becomes a cycle where everything is just so negative. Everything is just so bad. You know what I mean? And what I realized, especially with the Superman movie that came out, is these people or these creators will expose themselves, especially with Sinners too, how these people will deny that something is good, especially if they've already said that they think it's going to be bad or whatever. They just can't admit when something's actually good. And not only that, but I just wanted to enjoy movies again. Like, honestly, the movie theater is one of my happy places. Watching my favorite shows is something that I enjoy. I love to explore new series, new shows, different types of movies, whatever the case might be. I just love it. It's my safe space. It's something that really brings me comfort. And so I wanted to go back to that, especially after finding other content creators creators who do tend to be more positive. They do have their own opinions. It's not to say that you have to be positive about everything. It's just about being able to say, like, I have my own opinion, this is my thoughts on it, and being a part of a community that's not going to be toxic. So it's not about necessarily straying away from commentators, but finding ones that are not toxic, that are going to offer a space for everybody to have different perspectives and opinions. So I went the route of just being more curious, being more open-minded, being more open-minded, being more optimistic, being less negative about things straight out of the gate. And it's really done wonders for me. And honestly, when I saw Superman, I was not expecting it to be good. I remember going into the theater and being like, oh, these people said it's gonna be crap, so I guess it's gonna be trash. I went and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked it a lot. And well, I won't say I liked it a lot, but I enjoyed it. Like, I had a little smile on my face, it got me a little smile on my face. And I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like that. And so that kind of changed my perspective, especially at the aftermath of how people were reacting to it. Like, sure, it's not gonna be for everybody, but there are just some people that are just too, like, you could just tell the people that just want to be negative for the sake of being negative because it's profitable for them. You know what I'm saying? You can tell the difference. That's something that really opened up my eyes. And I just realized the pattern of how these people operate. And also some of these people who tend to be very racist, misogynistic, and just straight up hateful. And I think a lot of people take on that same energy and mindset without really realizing it. But if you really listen to how these people are talking, like, and hear the things that the complaints that they have and what's bothering them about these things, you'll realize that, oh wait, this is really just a hateful person, and you really don't have any business like really watching them, because like, what's the point? Like, you're just spewing the same thing. You know what I mean? Whatever the case might be, I'm sure you guys can put it together about the things that they usually say. So I'm sure for some of you guys, you get pieced together a lot of things that they usually like to say when they don't like something or when they want to complain about something, and you just chalk it down to them just being some type of racist, misogynist, some type of ist. And I usually don't like to throw that out there, but a lot of times you just have to call it what it is. And sometimes that's just simply what it is.
What I'm getting from all these is best and brightest. So you're getting, like, look at this vaguely Asian woman,
Best and the bright.
mandatory overweight black woman, probably lesbian, diversity man, pretty boy Klingon. Other Klingons are like, you got a pretty mouth, boy.
What do you mean by that?
Tapestry that is Starfleet.
The tapestry that is Starfleet, like an AIDS tapestry. Holy shit. There's a suspicious amount of women on the screen right now. Apparently, during the dilithium crisis, it also killed all the straight white men. Old women trying to look like 14-year-old boys. But oh my God, she's so funny because she's a lesbian and stuff. What the fuck is that? It's a fat black woman.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This right here is the absolute state of Star Trek. Normally, there's only one morbidly obese woman on the bridge of your average starship these days because physical fitness standards are a tool of the patriarchy, but they truly have upped the stakes by doubling it here. And oh boy, did they double it. I bet the replicators have to work overtime whenever you ladies waddle into the mess hall, eh? Star Trek is going to be completely and utterly appalled by the weapons-grade retardation on display here.
But even with the Supergirl trailer, I do not feel like the level of hate is deserved to the level that it's kind of receiving. I won't say that there's like a whole lot of hate, but I've definitely noticed it. And I just feel like this would be a great opportunity to bring up this topic of the culture around entertainment commentary and how it's impacting the viewers, and how participating in content creators who are creating this toxic environment are not making it easier for anybody. And they're definitely not making it easier for the people that are engaging with it, because you're not going to enjoy anything because you have this mentality that everything is negative and everything is bad. So for me, I just like to enjoy things for what they are, instead of letting negativity indicate how I feel about a piece of entertainment. And honestly, like I said, the real big issue is that this negativity is kind of become normalized, especially within this space. Movies and shows are judged harshly before they're even released, which I feel like is very wild to even think about how much impact these negative, toxic content creators have on people who watch them. And honestly, it just creates a culture where people are just consuming to critique rather than to go in and just have fun. That's the point. It's to have fun. You're not always going to like everything that you watch, but at least if you have that opinion, it's your opinion and it's not based off of somebody else's. And the pattern, if it's not fixed or people don't stop entertaining these negative, toxic communities, it's just going to perpetuate itself over and over again. The grifters will profit from it, the audience will repeat the negativity, and the genuine enjoyment for it is pretty much lost. So what's the point of even watching if everything's just going to be trash, everything's going to be bad? And these people, if you actually like take a step back and observe, like these content creators are pretty much brainwashing all these different viewers to think and feel a certain way. It's not until you actually step back and just kind of observe things, how they word things, their patterns of how their complaints, the things that they say, the type of beliefs that they kind of put out there for people to also kind of like take on these beliefs that they have, and you realize that, wait, you're all just pawns. You're all just really pawns. They want your money. They want your views. They want your entertainment. They want you to be angry at something, because why? Anger and frustration, all that is where the money is. You know what I'm saying? And so they would rather have that than to actually be honest about their true perspective on things, because I'm sure there's some things that they actually enjoy but just prefer not to. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more money in being negative. So it's even them, I feel like a lot of times don't even fully believe the things that they say. It's all about the money. If they have you to believe that something is terrible and that this is what's happening within the entertainment industry, or this is what's happening with people, these directors and writers and all this other type of stuff, that there's some type of enemy to go against, then if they could make you believe that, then that's where the money's at. They just need you to believe that. So I did want to say this quickly because I do feel like it matters. Like, not everyone who watches negative commentary is a bad person. I have grace for those people because, you know, those viewers, because I was also one of them at one point. Like, I understand the frustrations with remakes, lazy writing, and feeling like creativity has stalled. And that is still something that frustrates me. It's still something that bothers me. And it's not something that has changed since I've stopped interacting with those, you know, communities, with those type of channels. But there definitely is a difference between criticism and grifting, and there's a difference between creators who are actually genuinely frustrated and want to see change, and creators who are very comfortable letting racism, misogyny, and hate live in their communities, and they perpetuate and they feed into those narratives to continue to have people fired up to make money off of them. Because also a lot of these content creators share the same views, but some creators don't hide it at all, and those are usually the most popular channels, and others that are more subtle, but you can always tell by the fruit. Like that term, a good tree can't bear bad fruit. I think that that's a great example for this to use, because you'll see it through the comments that they allow, the narratives that they reinforce, and who feels empowered in these audiences. And as a Black woman, I've had to learn discernment, because what often starts as I want better movies slowly turns into narratives about women, about diversity, about masculinity, until it's not about movies at all. And in my opinion, I feel like it's not about movies at all. It is a cover for these people to air out their racism, air out their prejudices while having an excuse to do so. And I've seen it happen over and over again. A teaser drops and suddenly it's not about a story or execution. It's about tearing down women, implying diversity is a problem, or manufacturing outrage before anyone even sees the film or the show or whatever piece of entertainment or content that it is. And I think that Fantastic Four is a great example of what I'm saying. Like, for example, Pedro Pascal. A lot of people were coming for his masculinity and just coming for him and calling him a creep and everything else because of his interviews and all that other kind of stuff, like with the actress who plays Storm, like that whole conflict. My main issue is to deal with this constant homophobia towards men, especially going for their masculinity. I mean, these people get so angry and so upset, but if you paid attention to the conversations that we're having before the Fantastic Four movie dropped, you heard a lot of homophobia around Pedro Pascal. I talked to one of my, Latin friends, and she told me that, like, just seeing how he interacts with Storm and, like, people in general is, like, a cultural thing. They do tend to be more affectionate, physically affectionate, more touchy, and it doesn't necessarily mean to be disrespectful. It's just kind of like a cultural, like, thing, you know what I mean? It's just kind of what they do. People can have their own opinions on that, but, I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong. I feel like if he has that type of connection with her and she's okay with him, being affectionate like that, or, like, just in general, then fine. But this isn't what this part of the video is about. So to get back to what I was saying, I think that, with the actress who played Sue Storm, there's also the narrative of people being angry or upset or expecting her to be the woman that's the one that saves everybody, the spotlight, and making all the other men like demasculating the other men. And that's one thing that you'll realize with a lot of these content creators is that they're afraid of, you know, being demasculinized or like all these other types of things. Very misogynistic. That is something that they use to fearmonger these mainly white men, because a lot of their audience are white heterosexual men, that they're being replaced, they're being demasculinized. And so that's why I say Fantastic Four is a prime example, because we've seen all of that come into play, and also the racism that came into play with Pedro Pascal and how people were talking about him, and it was really sick to see actually happening. And it ended up being funny because a lot of people went to go watch the movie only to find that, wait, this wasn't actually what was going to be happening in the movie. Like, sure, you could say that there was a woman that ended up saving, you know, everyone, but we've seen that it was actually a group effort. Like, it wasn't like a situation where anybody was trying to outshine or downplay anybody, you know what I mean, or outshine anybody. Everybody was working as a team, as a family, to, you know, save the world. For me, I don't really like the whole idea of weakening men to uplift women. I don't like that when it comes to anything, whether that's, you know, race or whatever the case might be. I feel like everybody should be able to stand on their own and be respected as the characters that they are. But even watching the movie, I was like, that's not what was going on at all. And so it's funny to kind of see that all those people who are complaining and drawing out this huge narrative about the movie being completely wrong about what the movie was actually about and what it was focused around, even though it's kind of obvious in the trailers that it was going to be more family oriented, you know what I mean? That's my thoughts on it, and just an example of how toxic these communities can be, how they play out these narratives, which is why it's such a big deal when a teaser comes out, because they can pounce on that, pick it apart, find out what narratives that they can push on these things to push to their audiences to further, you know, deepen that anger, that fear. Keep replaying these narratives that really aren't true. A lot of times it's really just a pattern that you just have to recognize, and I feel like it's become more obvious. So yeah, I get it. It's frustrating, like wanting better writing, wanting originality. Like, just be careful who you give your energy to, which is what I've been saying before, because some people aren't trying to change the industry. They just want to try to keep you angry because, like I said, anger is where the money is, and it's evident through these channels. So my thing is, like, you know, when's the last time you actually seen somebody make a movie that was just like, you know, I seen this movie and I really want you guys to watch it? Or like, you know, just genuinely be excited about something that they've seen, a trailer that they've seen, a movie that they've seen. I feel like, honestly, it does exist. I'm not saying that they don't, but like, why not give those type of like videos and content more of your attention? You know, those type of communities where you can have differing opinions, different perspectives, more attention, rather than the negative content creators. So movies and shows are meant to be fun. It's, you know, entertaining. It's supposed to be something that takes you away from the real world, you know what I'm saying? And so stop treating entertainment, movies and shows like it's work. You know what I'm saying? Like something that you have to like muster up anger and frustration for. Like, no, like it's supposed to be something that you could just watch and enjoy and whatever. You know what I mean? But anyways, your opinion is your opinion, and it should always be that way. But I did want to kind of talk about my thoughts on Supergirl itself and why I'm personally open-minded about it. Like I said, Superman, I did not expect it to be good. It was one of those type of things where I've seen the trailers, the teasers, whatever, and I wasn't that impressed by it at all. I think a lot of people weren't. And so when the actual movie came out, it actually turned out being something that a lot of people liked. And so, including me. So it kind of made me remember, it's just like, the thing with Superman is that it was not a perfect movie, but just watching it, just to watch it and enjoy it, I was like, wow, I like this. I feel good watching this movie. And one thing I realized is that something that I've noticed when it comes to entertainment is that a lot of movies, I usually like, you know, older movies. Older movies are kind of my thing. It's my vibe. And so when I watch an older movie, a lot of times you'll look at like the ratings for it and like they won't be good ratings, or you'll watch something that tells you, oh, this movie wasn't popular when it came out, but you watch it yourself and like, that's one of my favorite movies, I enjoy it. Sometimes the best movies are the ones that aren't necessarily popular in its time, or something that people were like into. So sometimes it's like realizing that like it's really just about your opinion and what you like and what you enjoy. If you're to like do everything based off of critique, let's just say you wouldn't watch something, you go on Reddit and like you read reviews and you don't watch it because of those reviews, it's silly. Just watch it yourself, and 9 times out of 10 you probably won't even share majority of those opinions that those critics have. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it. So when I see Supergirl, what excites me is because, you know, we've seen like this very, like, you know, positive and really, you know, heroic version of Supergirl that we're used to, which is great, patriotic, you know, cool, whatever. And so what I like about this different version of Supergirl is that we get to see a more real, gritty, down to earth version of her that has been through a lot of trauma, been through a lot of pain, been through a lot of hurt, and is having to operate in a universe where she's kind of alone. Like, sure, there's Superman, but like Superman didn't have to see the things that she saw. And so being able to kind of explore her story from a place where we get to see her perspective, we get to see the truth of like what really happened. Superman only has little pieces of it, you know what I mean? Like barely anything, you know, to really go based off of, but she actually has the story and the context to what went on, what Krypton was like. She knows this stuff. And so we get to see that story unfold, and also how it pieces together with Superman's story so far. And so I also like the contrast between the two of them as well, where Supergirl is not like him. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were kind of upset about her and him, and just how it just comes off like kind of like weird or whatever. People didn't like it. For me, I enjoy that because it just shows how Superman, he can afford to just be that heroic man. He didn't really have to deal with trauma, or, you know, he dealt with the aftermath of his planet and everything that he came from not being there anymore. But for Kara, like, she didn't have any of that. Like, she experienced all of that, being a part of it, losing it, having to kind of adjust in a world or universe where she doesn't have a home anymore. And so for me, I love that aspect of the show. Not show, but I like the aspect or that idea, you know, in the movie, of being able to explore that a lot more. And I feel like it's so interesting. I don't see why people don't find that interesting. I doubt that she'll stay as this kind of like, you know, drunken, I don't care type of person. I look forward to seeing the character development. I know some people kind of see it as like the typical type of character arc. And I think they kind of related her to, they're saying that she's kind of like Hancock, a drunken hero, kind of like can do whatever, but it's just kind of like I don't care type of situation, but then becomes better in the end or whatever. Maybe, but I feel like her story is going to be different. I feel like with her it's different. You know what I mean? It does kind of give me Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, but like not in a way that bothers me, if that makes sense. I think that I could see why people get that Guardians of the Galaxy type of thing, but it doesn't feel like, well, for so far for me, it's like it hasn't been something that I feel like is necessarily a negative thing, but you just never know. That's why I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I don't actually see it and see what's going to go on in a movie. I know the comic that it's based off of, I think the story seems very interesting. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all that kind of stuff. I'm not that type of channel. I just like to talk about things and enjoy. It's not like a deep in-depth like thing, so I'm not gonna go through it. But if you're interested, or people out there that's already talking about it, like kind of giving the history on this version of Supergirl, and I find it very interesting. The action scenes seem pretty cool as well. I know people don't like the dog. I don't really care too much for the dog. It's whatever to me, but I will say that, you know, everything else seems like it's gonna be okay. I'm not saying that I'm like super like, yo, this is gonna be great, but I'm open-minded, I'm optimistic. I'm like, okay, I'm very curious as to how this is gonna come together. And you know, one thing I think about is that, you know, it's hard to make anybody happy, especially when it comes down to, you know, superheroes. You know what I mean? Like, people get very like, you know, very particular about what they want to see. So I feel like honestly there was nothing that they could do to make anybody happy. If they were to make her patriotic and everything else that she's usually been portrayed as, I'm sure people would have been bothered by that. Like, oh, we always see that. Like, I wish I would have seen this or seen that. And so it's just kind of like, where can you win? You know what I'm saying? And the actress seems like she's pretty good at what she does. She seems like she makes a good Supergirl. I do like the show, like the Supergirl, the show. I like that show as well. For, you know, it's not perfect, but I enjoy watching it. I enjoy that version of Supergirl as well. And also, like, one thought that I had was just like how, like, I thought that maybe Supergirl isn't like a fan favorite per se, so I'm just like, I don't even feel like people really even care. There's a lot of people that said that they weren't really that, you know, there was nothing in the trailer or the teaser to make them like that interested, which is understandable. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I would say the same. Like, it wasn't anything too crazy, but it looked interesting to me. I like the concept, I like the idea. I think that I like the angle that they're coming from, but there's some people that are like, they just weren't that impressed. And one thing I was thinking about is that, like, I think that, you know, Supergirl, even though the show lasted years, very successful show, it seemed like, you know, Supergirl isn't necessarily like a fan favorite like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those type of things where, yeah, she's well known, she is popular to an extent, but a whole movie dedicated on her, I feel like it's a little bit tricky. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, I don't really know how many people actually necessarily care about her. Like, I think a lot of people are more interested in Lobo than in her. And so, I guess we'll see. Who knows? I mean, I think that she definitely has a strong fan base behind her. But it's just an observation that I had. I know it's not necessarily accurate to what the reality is. But to me, it just seems like Supergirl in general just doesn't seem like people are that interested to have like a movie dedicated to just her. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, I'm hoping that it's one of those situations where everything ties in very well to each other. Because I feel like with DC, it's very hard to find like everything that they've tried to do hasn't necessarily stuck, right? Like the universe of DC, and I love DC over Marvel. That's kind of been my thing. It could be like a very controversial thing to say, but I love DC. Kind of seeing how this is gonna go so far has me excited. I'm like, Superman, okay, not bad. Let's see how Supergirl is gonna fit into this and kind of deepen things in a way that we haven't gotten before. And so I'm excited to see what happens with that. But with that being said, you know, just make sure you have your own opinions, go into things and just enjoy it, have fun, like literally. But anyways, yeah, have a great holiday or something. Yeah, peace.